It is 3:35 a.m. and I am going out to see how much XP I can get in a single day. So here's the thing, it is my intention to go out and try and collect as much XP as I possibly can in one day. And I'm going to do that through grinding foundables. And now I could spend the entire day walking around, but I'm going to get a bus pass for the day, and I'm going to take the city bus around. And I've picked out a couple routes that run up and down roads that are really packed, or that slowly go through parking lots going from store to store dropping off. And so I'm going to try this out and see how it goes. If those don't work out very well, then I'm going to be walking around downtown, and that's where I'm at right now, is downtown Rockford at, what is it now, just after 4 a.m., which is really weird. Downtown Rockford. And it was somewhere around there where everything kind of went downhill. It was initially my intention on making a, ooh, wow, look what I did video about how much XP I could grind out in a whole day. But after doing it a little while, I ran into a lot of odd problems and things that I had not expected. And this became more of a learning lesson for me. So the title of the video changed from, ooh, look what I did, to lessons learned. And so I kind of want to dive into that. Now, we will be talking about a lot of the data, and we did some of fun things there. But basically what I ended up doing is my intention was to get on the bus and just ride it for the full 14 hours that it has service. And that sounds really good until you sit on one of those bus seats and it's just hard plastic. And yeah, after 3.5 hours, 2 trips out and back, I said enough of that. I stopped and I thought I'm just going to walk around downtown, and that was my backup plan. And that was good for a little while, but our downtown in Rockford really isn't that big, and it just got a little boring. And so then I thought, you know, if I'm going to be playing a game, I want it to be fun, and even if it's a grind, I want to find a way to make it fun. So I'm going to try a bunch of different things. So I tried doing some things with dark detectors. I went to fortresses, I went to a couple parks, I walked around downtown, and then I went to some shopping centers and did the parking lot hop. And I tried a bunch of things and found different things that I like for different reasons and different times of the day. And it was an interesting experience. So I started the day about 2/3 of the way into level 31, and I ended the day just into level 34. That ended up being 232,500 and some XP. And in a 14-hour grind, I think that was pretty good. In the 14 hours, I spent a total of 5 hours on the bus. I was walking around downtown for about 2 hours. I did dark detectors for about 1.5 hours. I did a fortress for 1 hour. And as I've done a bunch of other things with fortresses, that wasn't something I really wanted to experiment as much on. And then I also did the parking lot hop, and I did that for about 4.5 hours. Originally, I was going to do 16 to 18 hours, but life got in the way and it had to be cut down to 14 hours. During that time, I returned 755 foundables, I did 35 wizarding challenges, and I opened a whopping 59 port keys. Yes, you heard that right, 59 port keys in one 14-hour period. In every single family, I ranked up either 4 or 5 times, with the exception of Hogwarts School. That one I only ranked up 3. And then in Mysterious Artifacts, I actually ranked up 7 times. But that was because I was going through a lot of shopping center parking lots, and in those, you often tend to have the nests for mysterious artifacts. Also, with doing some of the fortress challenges, I was able to rank up twice in that. So all told, that brought in 4 books and 207 scrolls. So those were just some of the fun facts, and if you have questions about anything particular, let me know down below. But I wanted to get more into the lessons that I learned and some of the things that I ran into, so that if you want to try different things, then this might actually inform you on the best way for you to do it. So for the entire day, I averaged about 16,000 XP per hour, and that's relatively good. Now, yes, if I were really focused down, I can do better than that. And some of these hours I did much better than that. Some of them I did much worse than that. And I kind of want to go into that a little bit. On the bus is a great way. If you're just going to be on there for an hour or two, the bus is fantastic. Now, one of the problems is you don't always have inns along the road, and so you may end up having to purchase energy because you can't replenish it because you can't go out anywhere, you're stuck on the bus. Number 2, and the biggest one for me, is, man, that seat was uncomfortable, and I just couldn't stay in it for much longer than about 2.5 hours. In the end, for one full stint, I was in the same seat for
for 3.5 hours, and it just wasn't very comfortable. It was, however, great for opening up Portkeys because we were going fairly slow, start and stop and start and stop and start and stop. And so the Portkeys were just popping constantly. And with the ability to just go in, hit the first rack spurt and back out, I could quickly go into those and then go back into grinding the foundables. So in that, I was actually able to do a little bit better than average. I was around 17 to 18,000 per hour on the bus, which was really, really good. The other nice thing about the bus is that you get a lot more high-level foundables because you're constantly moving. So every time you come out of a foundable, you're in a new group of foundables and you only have time to pick one of them, and then you move on to the next group and you pick one of them. So each group you run into, you only pick one foundable out of that group, and usually you're looking for the one with the flare on top and you click that one in. So you're often having to pick just the best of every foundable you come across, and so you do get a lot more high levels in there. But that means you're probably going to spend more energy per foundable, but in the end it equals out to be about the same for energy to XP. Next up, I had walking around downtown, and this is one I've done quite a bit before. It's where there's fairly decent spawns, there's several good inns. The nice thing about it is I always had enough energy because I was going in to in to in to in, and it was a great way to do it. I got a lot of exercise in it, and I really felt like I was playing the game the way it was intended to be done. The downside to it is I wasn't quite able to get as much XP, and that's because there would be stints where there's nothing around to catch and I'm walking to the next section, and you may not be able to always have foundables with you all the time. Now, if I were to be running around while doing it, then I could probably keep up with the foundables, but it just wasn't as much. In the end, I was around 15,000 XP per hour for that. I did a little while at the park, and that was nice, except for the Care of Magical Creatures was everything in the park, and that was a little bit less because the foundables just weren't spawning quite as much in that nest. So for that, I was down to about 12,000 XP. But it was very nice to walk around at the park, very enjoyable, lots of exercise, and it was a good way to play the game and a very fun time. Next up, I found a couple places where I had several inns close together, and I loaded those up with dark detectors and just walked around those inns. One of the problems that a lot of people have is when they put dark detectors, they stay in one spot. And the area where the foundables will spawn is larger than your area, so you have to walk around the inns. And I found if I load up 5 or 6 inns, I can keep a consistent spawn rate so that I can always have something that I'm hitting. But it takes 5 or 6 inns completely loaded with dark detectors, and that's a lot of dark detectors. So in the end, if I do want to spend all those dark detectors, then I can get my XP rate up to like 17 and almost 18. It's a really, really good way because you're getting a lot of high levels in there. But most people aren't going to spend that many dark detectors for an extended period of time. So if you're going to be doing it around 3 inns, then you're probably only going to be around 15 to 16,000 XP per hour doing it that way. And then I played in fortresses a while because I like fortresses. They're a lot of fun. I've done a lot in those before, but with the nerf back, really you're not going to be getting as much XP, and this is probably one of the lower ways of doing it, depending upon what level and what runestone and all those times and your current ability. It can be anywhere between 10,000 per hour up to maybe 13,000 per hour. If you really push it, maybe 14, but they're not anywhere near as much as grinding the foundables. In the end, I ended up going to a parking lot that I knew of that was one of these big shopping centers, and I just worked my way around the parking lot, and I found a long strip mall parking lot that is large enough that I could do the circuit of the parking lot once every 45 minutes or so, and that kept the foundables going. So as I kept moving around, I kept running into more foundables. And what I would end up doing is I'd get a parking spot, I'd park, I'd pull out my phone, I'd catch all the foundables in that area, I'd put the phone down, I'd drive 100 to 200 feet, park, pull out my phone, catch all the foundables in that area, put the phone down, drive another 100, 200 feet, park, pull out the phone, catch all the foundables there. And that actually a very, very good way of doing it because you always have foundables going, and it's packed. Most of the time where I park, you would have 10 to 20 foundables in one area, and so I could sit there for a while catching all those foundables. And most of the time I can get that around to 17 to 18,000, which was probably the most efficient way of doing them that I've found. But there is one other bump up you can do, and that is if you do it during dusk. And so I stuck around a little while so that I could do it during dusk, and I found that all of the oddities start coming out, and you start seeing snakes if they're in your area, and you start seeing a lot of Urklings, and those are worth a lot of XP. If you have a Brewfoo's Brain Elixir on, then the snakes are worth 1,000 XP each. And yes, you can really crank it out in there. For that 45 minutes, I was averaging somewhere around 20,000 XP per hour. Now, it's only a 2-hour window in dusk, and you have to be in an area with snakes, but even with the Urklings, it was a fairly good catch rate. And because they're oddities, they don't flee from you, and so it's a guaranteed catch. So all this being said, it was a very interesting day, and it would be much more fun if I had someone else to play with it. And so in the future, I think I'm going to try and find someone else, and we can pick a time slot, and we'll do, we're going to go grind for 2 hours together. You get the conversation going back and forth. You'll say, ooh, look what I got, and ooh, I caught it, and you didn't. And there's a lot of fun things that can go on with that. And I want to try that in the future. I do like doing the parking lot hop. That is a lot of fun if I had someone else to spend the time with and actually share in on that. I really like doing the dark detectors because you find a lot of things that you don't get to see normally, and so those really call in the rare items that are a little less seen, and so that's an exciting thing because you're like, ooh, look at this, and there are other things that pop up that are just a lot of fun there. But again, it would be a lot better with someone else. That way you could actually be covering a larger area, and anytime someone finds something nice, they can say, hey, come over here, look, there's McGonagall, or whatever you're going to find. So in the future, I think that if I'm on my own and I just want to go out and have some fun and grind, I'm probably going to go downtown and walk around. It's very enjoyable and there's a lot of things to see, and it keeps me interested as well. If I have someone else, then we're going to talk together and see what we want to do. But the most efficient way I've found, and probably the easiest, is just to do the shopping center loop, especially if you can find a shopping center where there's inns nearby that you can refill occasionally. Now with topics like this, they're going to start a lot of conversations and other things to try, and wow, I don't think your numbers were right on this. Let me know. This was a great learning experience for me, and I hope I can share a little bit of that information with you. If you do have any other questions, ideas, thoughts, snide remarks, go ahead and throw them down below. I love reading the comments. Also, if you did like the video, please hit like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell. All those really do help out the channel. And if you do want to become a patron and help out the channel monetarily, you can do that as well. There's a link to Patreon down below. I think that's it for now. And until next time, have a magical day. I was out grinding for 14 hours and all I got was this stupid chocolate frog. Hopefully it's someone cool, but in the end it's probably just going to be someone like, oh, Godric Gryffindor. I guess it is cool.